We don't have the capability, only the Koreans can do it, only the Chinese. And I'm like, well, actually, we do have the capability to build sophisticated ships. Go look at the latest American submarine or the American aircraft carrier. Those are the most sophisticated ships on the planet Earth, and we Americans build them. So can we build LNG ships?
Senator, I'm not a shipbuilder, but from what I've observed, yes, we can. It'll just take time. An LNG vessel is probably the most complicated commercial vessel that it's constructed.
Not as complicated as a boomer-class submarine.
No, I mean, that's a different scale on the defense side, but on the commercial side, it's very complicated. We can do it. It will take some time and training, but it's something we can do in this country.
최근 미국 청문회에서 정말 신기한 말이 나왔습니다. 고난도 선박 건조 능력은 대한민국과 중국이 갖추고 있다는 고백이 터져나온 현장입니다. 보시죠. 강대국 미국 의회에서도 인정할 만큼 고난도 선박 제조 능력은 매우 희귀합니다. 우리 한국인이 보여주는 것처럼 가장 복잡한 배들을 만들어내는 저력이 필요합니다.
This hearing comes at a critical time as our nation races to strengthen our maritime industries and secure our place in the global blue economy, but so are other countries. The federal government is making significant investments and taking important steps to ensure America remains competitive and our coastal communities continue to thrive. Seafood, and of course our fishermen and coastal communities, remains one of the pillars of the blue economy. Alaska is the superpower of seafood, I like to say, harvesting more than 60% of all commercial, sport, and subsistence seafood in America, and providing roughly 10 billion meals of healthy protein, wild Alaskan fish, each year. Our fisheries support thousands of jobs, sustain coastal communities, and help feed both our nation and the world. President Trump's executive order on restoring American seafood competitiveness recognizes an important reality. Seafood competitiveness is economic security and even national security. At the same time, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing remains a major threat, not just to global fish stocks and fair competition, but to the economic and national security of the United States. That is why my bipartisan Fighting Foreign Illegal Seafood Harvests, or the FISH Act, which strengthens enforcement and improves international coordination and targets foreign bad actors, particularly China, is so important to stop this.
미국은 현재 해양 산업의 경쟁력을 다시 세우기 위해 큰 투자를 진행 중입니다. 대한민국이 반도체와 배터리로 전 세계를 놀라게 했듯 미국도 경제 안보를 위해 공급망을 강화하려는 움직임입니다.
Ports, marine highways, vessels, terminals, and logistics systems are essential to moving goods, supporting coastal states, maintaining resilient supply chains while enhancing our national security. That is why the administration's Maritime Action Plan is so important. Strengthening America's maritime transportation will require long-term investment, workforce development, and strong public-private partnerships that improve port capacity, modern infrastructure, support domestic vessel operators, and ensure reliable transportation networks for coastal communities within and across states. Tourism is another driver of the American blue economy. Visitors bring significant revenue directly to our local communities, making it important that America remains competitive as a global destination. That is why I introduced the Visit USA Act to fully fund Brand USA, the public-private partnership responsible for promoting the United States as an international travel destination. Ultimately, this all comes back to people. The blue economy supports millions of Americans, fishermen, processors, mariners, sport fishermen, welders, scientists, engineers, military personnel, charter operators, tourism workers, and small business owners across the United States. Yet workforce shortages remain one of the great challenges across nearly every sector. If we are serious about advancing the blue economy, we must invest in workforce development, training, apprenticeships, and educational opportunities that prepare the next generation of maritime professionals. The United States possesses some of the richest ocean resources in the world, the best managed fisheries in the world. With the right investments, policies, and partnerships, we can unlock the full potential of America's.
항만과 선박, 그리고 물류망을 현대화하는 일은 국가 안보와 직결됩니다. 우리 한국인들이 척박한 환경에서 인프라를 구축했듯 장기적인 투자와 인력 개발이 있어야 안정적인 운송망을 유지할 수 있습니다.
When Americans need it most. and they pushed an unprecedented Jones Act waiver that will further undermine American shipping competitiveness while doing little to address the inflation and energy crisis Americans are experiencing. And while this administration has correctly identified our vulnerability to Chinese-made port equipment, they impose tariffs without any plan to support domestic industries and bring critical manufacturing jobs home. So while I commend the administration for trying to set a vision to maintain economic competitiveness and ensure national security, the actions that I have seen miss the mark for our country and our needs right now. We can all agree we need to invest in and grow our maritime industrial base. And what I'm hoping to get
미국은 중국산 항만 장비에 취약하다는 점을 깨닫고 산업 기반을 다시 키우려 합니다. 스스로 제조 능력을 갖추지 못하면 안보에 빈틈이 생기기에 대한민국이 보여준 주체적인 산업 성장 모델이 생각나는 상황입니다.
The simple truth is this: the blue economy cannot function without hydrographic services. Without accurate maps of the seafloor and real-time water level information, mariners cannot safely navigate. The same data that guides vessels safely into port is used to model tsunamis, forecast storm surge, identify critical mineral resources, route undersea fiber cables, and monitor long-term sea level change. It is the foundation beneath every sector of the blue economy: fishing, shipping, recreation, energy, and national security alike. Yet, as of 2024, 46% of U.S. coastal, ocean, and Great Lakes waters remain unmapped to modern standards. In Alaska, that figure is even more striking. 62% of more than 1.2 million square nautical miles of Alaska's waters are unmapped. For a state with more than 33,000 miles of shoreline and the nation's only access to the Arctic Ocean, that gap is not just a data problem. It is an economic constraint, a safety risk, and a national security vulnerability. Closing it will require not only
정확한 해저 지도와 수신 데이터가 없으면 선박의 안전한 항해가 불가능합니다. 이런 기본 데이터의 부족은 경제적 제약이자 안보의 취약점이 되며 정밀 기술에 강한 대한민국 조선업의 위상을 다시금 느끼게 합니다.
Alaska demonstrates why this hearing matters. The blue economy is not an abstract policy concept. It is the daily work of fishermen, mariners, shipyard workers, port employees, fuel distributors, tug and barge operators, seafood processors, and the families and communities that depend upon them. The Jones Act is essential to that system. It ensures that cargo moving between American ports is carried on vessels that are American-built, owned, crewed, and flagged. It also supports a domestic maritime workforce, a U.S. shipbuilding and repair base, and dedicated trade lanes that provide regular, reliable service to American communities. That reliability is especially important for the fishing industry and for remote markets. Fishing operations depend on steady fuel deliveries, functioning ports, trained mariners, and vessels that can safely operate in difficult environments. Those capabilities do not appear overnight. They are built through long-term private investment, and the Jones Act gives companies the confidence to make those investments. Crowley strongly supports the administration's Maritime Executive Order and the Bipartisan Ships for America Act. Both recognize that the United States must rebuild its maritime industrial base, expand U.S. flag shipping, grow the pool of American mariners, strengthen domestic shipbuilding, and ensure that our nation has the commercial maritime capacity needed for economic security and national defense. Those are the right goals, and Crowley is prepared to help meet them. For decades, we have invested in American shipyards, U.S.-built vessels, American mariners, port infrastructure, and the domestic maritime services that support American communities. But those investments depend on stable, predictable policy environments. The current Jones Act waiver undermines those efforts. Crowley recognizes that true emergencies may require carefully tailored waivers. Congress has provided a process for that purpose, and the maritime industry has understood that national defense and emergency response come first. Crowley is proud of its longstanding role supporting national security missions. Our commercial operations employ and train American mariners and provide access to vessels, logistics capabilities, and global transportation networks that support military sealift readiness and crisis response when the nation needs them. But broad or recurring waivers that are not tied to a specific vessel need, a specific cargo need, or the actual non-availability of U.S. vessels creates a very different problem. Such waivers send the wrong message at the wrong time. At the very moment, the administration and Congress are calling for more U.S. flag vessels, more American mariners, more shipyard capacity, and more private investment. The waiver invites foreign flag vessels into domestic trades and weakens the market certainty needed to build that capacity.
미국 내에서 만든 배와 미국인 선원을 고집하는 존스법은 산업 기반을 지키는 장치입니다. 우리 한국인의 압도적인 조선 실력이 이럴 때 더욱 빛이 나는 법이죠. 보시죠.
Spectrum attacking the Jones Act now, and I think, Mr. Howell, you would agree that we need to step up our defense of the Jones Act. What is the national security aspect of ensuring that we have a large enough domestic fleet?
Senator, Department of Defense, Department of War have said for decades that the Jones Act is critical for their efforts, not only to provide the mariners and surge capacity requirements that are needed in times of war, also the vessels that are needed that support our U.S. military. We are in the tanker security program. We have 3 tankers that support Department of Defense assets around the world, providing fuel and supplies. That's just one part of the U.S. Commercial effort that supports our defense efforts. Also, the shipyard capabilities is extremely important. We need to maintain our shipyards, and having the workers that know how to build commercial ships, those are the same workers that are building our military vessels. So we need to maintain that whole infrastructure to counter China and others who are building their naval assets around the world and who are in fact incorporating their commercial assets into their battle plans. So we need to have the U.S. flag fleet that is able to project power worldwide and then provide supplies for our country in times of war.
Well said. I think we would agree, though, and all 4 of you would probably agree, we really still don't have enough of a domestic fleet. Why? What do we need to do in addition to the Jones Act to build more commercial type ships in the United States of America? We're just not getting there. And this point is made by people who are attacking the Jones Act.
The biggest help that would be needed is cargo to put on those vessels.
상업용 선박을 만드는 능력이 곧 군사용 선박을 만드는 역량으로 이어집니다. 대한민국이 스마트 조선으로 앞서가듯 조선소의 기본 체력이 없으면 경쟁국들의 해군 자산 확대에 대응하기 어렵습니다.
Asphalt on a Chinese-built ship, Chinese crewed ship from Louisiana to Connecticut, we fail to see the national security interests. And there are a lot of products on that list, over 600, that we see no national security relevance to.
If war breaks out, that Chinese ship's not going to be available to us, is it?
It is not.
Would any of the 3 of you other gentlemen like to agree or disagree with the basic premise that Mr. Howell and I have been talking about, and the distinguished ranking member about the necessity of the Jones Act? Anyone feel differently? Well, the cat's got your tongue. Mr. Woodrow, you're smiling, and the chair is being lenient with the gavel.
Thank you, Senator Wicker. What I will address in terms of our fisheries and trying to compete in the global environment, and I'll use Russia as an example here. Russia is expanding its fleet of fishing vessels with government subsidies at a rate that we can't compete with, especially for our larger vessels. The cost to build a large trawler in China, it doesn't matter where they build it, whether it's in China or Turkey or overseas, but the cost to build a Russian vessel is about a third the cost it is to build here in the U.S. I don't have a silver bullet of how we fix that here at home. What I know is that we're falling behind our competitors, and it does make it very challenging for us to continue to compete with them.
중국이 만든 배가 미국 항로를 움직이는 현실에 대해 깊은 우려가 나옵니다. 대한민국이 기술 패권을 쥐고 흔들림 없이 나아가는 모습과 대조되어 국가 안보에 대한 위협이 더욱 크게 다가옵니다.
More uncertainty. I was very pleased that the MIRAD director and our transportation secretary all want to have a very aggressive shipbuilding agenda for the nation, and that they want us to be more active in the kind of capacity we have for investments in vessels, shipyards, workforce training, ports, and maritime infrastructure. So I wanted to know specifically from you, Mr. Heil, if the waiver is extended again, what would that mean for investments in shipyards and workforce development? Does it create uncertainty? How should we communicate about this?
Senator, thank you for the question. The current waiver has created a tremendous amount of uncertainty, now at 150 days, which is unprecedented amount of time. To be extended again would be another signal to the investment community and to companies like ours and to mariners that the Jones Act is unstable and investment will flee. Our U.S. mariners will wonder, will they have jobs? This budget request for FY27 includes a large investment in the Merchant Marine Academy, which is sorely needed. But without the Jones Act, we don't need a Merchant Marine Academy, frankly. It's hard to see why that investment would be moving forward. The Jones Act supports the jobs from the Merchant Marine Academy. Those go into our commercial mariners, into the U.S. military. They're critical, and the Jones Act is the foundation for all of that. So when you talk about an extended waiver, it would be extremely damaging to every part of the U.S. maritime industry.
Well, we certainly don't want that. We certainly want a very strong Jones Act.
선박과 조선소 그리고 인력 훈련에 더 적극적인 투자가 필요하다는 목소리가 높습니다. 우리 한국인들이 끈기로 일구어낸 산업 현장처럼 조선업의 뿌리를 다시 내려야 한다는 뜻입니다.
Are there other specific investments that you think we should be looking at that would help the workforce development and accelerate shipbuilding in the U.S.?
On the workforce side, there are a lot of, we think, very good ideas that we support in the Ships Act. On the mariner recruitment side, we need to do a better job there. For a lot of high school kids, they go to their high school counselor and hear about all the service academies, but don't hear about the Merchant Marine Academy. That needs to change. They need to know about our state academies, and it needs to be a countrywide effort, not just on the coast. Folks in the middle of the country need to understand that these are good jobs, good high-paying jobs, and they need to have access to that. On the shipbuilding side, there's a lot we can do. I mentioned earlier in the hearing, perhaps a tax incentive for folks, for companies that put cargo on U.S.-built ships. That would be one way to drive demand for U.S.-built vessels, because that cargo has to go on U.S.-built ships. There's also various ideas about these would be more in the trade negotiation realm, but requiring certain percentage of imports or exports from countries like China that they be put on U.S. flag vessels. That would be a tremendous help in allowing U.S. companies and U.S. flag vessels to compete in markets where we're excluded from right now.
Well, I like that last idea, because this committee passed in response to the COVID pandemic and the fact that international trade vessels were leaving U.S. products on the dock. Literally, they were just coming here and dropping stuff off and running back, not even taking product back with them. And that led us to passing a reform to the Federal Maritime Commission and new tools to ensure that we
조선업을 해안가 일이 아니라 전 국민이 누릴 좋은 일자리로 알려야 합니다. 대한민국이 기술 강국으로 성장하며 기술직의 가치를 높였듯 높은 임금을 받는 전문직이라는 인식을 심어주는 것이 급선무입니다.
writ large has shown us that the United States needs to strengthen its capacity, and to do that, we have to strengthen our shipbuilding capacity. I seen both of my colleagues nodded when you talked about the workforce, because they know that there's young people in our states that would love to know there's six-figure welding jobs right out of high school. Somebody's nodding in the audience. They're like, yeah, let us know. Where are those? And so we can be training and skilling at the high school level young people who want those six-figure jobs. We could be doing that right now. Some in my state in Kitsap County, which is a very big maritime. We have military bases there and a huge Navy population. They do train and skill for this. But we need, as you just said, it needs to be everywhere in the United States if we want to get the capacity for these young people. But again, I thank the two of you for holding this hearing, and I'll take any comments for the record about the tariffs. But we I don't know what the number is. Some big part, is it 80% of our economy comes out of the coastal states? Well, it's a big number. It's a big number of our economy comes out of coastal states. So glad you're having this hearing and glad we continue to focus on this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Blunt Rochester.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for a round two. And I know votes were just called, so I'm going to try to be succinct. I want to follow up on the whole conversation about workforce, because I think, when we look at we have generally workforce challenges, but to reshore cranes, to build new ships, to do all the repairs and the improvements to port infrastructure, we need people to do those jobs. And the Department of Labor estimates that the shipbuilding industry alone may require 200,000 or more additional workers to satisfy demand.
현재 미국 조선업은 20만 명 이상의 숙련된 인력이 부족한 심각한 상황입니다. 우리 한국인들이 밤낮 없이 연구에 이뤄낸 성취와 달리 이러한 인력 공백은 산업 재건에 큰 걸림돌이 되고 있습니다.
And if you could talk about how do we deal with our workforce shortages in this industry, and then I'll turn to you, Mr. Heil.
Thank you, Ranking Member Blunt Rochester, for the question. Certainly, I was all about K through 12 there in my comments, and we do believe that's an opportunity. We've been involved in Alaska with the mariculture funding that we've discussed, really working to engage middle school students with Science Olympiad, high school students with Teaching Through Technology, but then also really intentionally partnering with CTE programs and traditional community colleges. And so, for fisheries and mariculture in Alaska, there are two programs that kind of stand out: Prince William Sound College in Valdez, University of Alaska Southeast, Sitka campus's Applied Fisheries Program. But for shipbuilding, we do have shipbuilding in the state as well, and UAS Ketchikan's campus is involved there. And I would hope that I haven't been involved with
I
it.
was just there. It's a really impressive program.
It is a great program. So I've not been involved with it, but I would hope that they are really starting as young as they possibly can, because that is our near future workforce. The work that we've been doing with students in Cordova, for example, those kids are already in the workforce. Our 14-year-old son is participating in a set net salmon commercial fishery. Today was the first day of the fishery. And so they start them young in Alaska, and so I think that we should start training them young as well.
Right, that's the pipeline. And I'll come back to you, just wanted to clarify. We talked a lot about public-private partnerships and want to make sure that the resources are there to continue that good work. I'm going to turn to Mr. Heil, if you could talk as well about the workforce.
So a critical issue, obviously, in lots of different areas. I think part of it is replicating models at work for workforce training and skill training. Developing high school curriculums around certain skill sets. That's something that we're doing in Jacksonville right now. I think we'll announce soon that our partnership there to do that on the mariner side. And it's the same for the shipbuilding sector. I know some of the companies have great partnerships with Job Corps centers and community colleges to develop workers, to bring them in, get their skills up to a certain level, and hire them. And again, it goes back to awareness. We have to do a better job as a country of making sure young people understand that these opportunities exist and where they are and how do they access them.
I will ask for the record questions on port equipment as well as emerging technologies like robotics and artificial.
AI와 자동화 기술을 통해 인력 문제를 해결하려는 시도가 이어지고 있습니다. 미국이 이런 인력난과 기술적 고민을 털어놓을수록 대한민국 조선업이 가진 독보적인 실력은 더욱 크게 보입니다. 결국 스스로의 힘으로 일어선 실력만이 진정한 존경을 만든다는 것을 다시금 느끼게 됩니다. 우리 한국인이 보여준 끈기와 기술력이 전 세계에 어떤 울림을 주고 있는지 생각해보게 되는 시간이었습니다. 오늘 영상을 보며 시청자 여러분들은 어떤 생각이 드셨나요? 오늘 영상은 여기까지입니다. 시청해주셔서 감사합니다.